Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today for Beastcoast Pokemon, we have another episode of Trainer's Choice. This is a series where I take suggestions from all of you, the viewers, and build fun and wacky teams around slightly obscure Pokemon and strategies. The very first episode featured a special attacking regular Zacian, which was a lot of fun back in Series 12, and for this one, we're going to be using a regular base form Calyrex, and so the video will be split into two parts, one briefly covering the team and of course the battles, and so thank you so much for watching all the content here at Beastcoast Pokemon. If you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of fun plans for this channel, especially going into Scarlet and Violet, and yeah, would always appreciate any feedback as well. And don't forget to leave a comment on what Pokemon you'd like to see me try out next in Series 13 down in the comment section below. Hey guys, Cybertron. Relax, I was just gonna get there. Anyway, as this little buddy was saying, 80% of you aren't subscribed to the channel, so hit that subscribe button. It really helps. Hey, what Pokemon are you? So when I saw that the challenge revolved around Calyrex, I knew that I wanted to use a supportive set because when you look at its stats and its move pool, it just doesn't really get access to any good offense, but defensively can actually be really viable. So I was like, okay, one, this is a Pokemon that people don't really expect to fight against. Two, what if we make it a Trick Room user, right? And we use it to enable some of the strongest attackers in the format. So I figured I wanted to build a Trick Room centric team, and so naturally Trick Room, was one of the first moves to look at. I wanted Pollen Puff to heal all of my potential attackers and support them a little bit better. I wanted Helping Hand just because it's a good support move. And then for the final move, essentially, I wanted a weakness policy strategy on this team. So I wanted Calyrex to enable weakness policy on a really strong restricted Pokemon. I thought about Kyogre and Groudon because you can, use Giga Drain activate policy on those, but ultimately I actually decided on Zekrom for two reasons. One, Zekrom's just not as common as Kyogre and Groudon. I figured it'd be more fun from a content perspective, and two, I actually think Zekrom is really anti-meta and super good into a lot of good Pokemon right now, such as Yveltal and Kyogre in this format. So I started a team with Calyrex and Zekrom here, and Draining Kiss was the fourth move to make sure I could activate policy on Zekrom. I opted just for max HP and max special defense here since I have an Incineroar with Intimidate, and this allows me to take like Astral Barrage and Water Spouts a little bit better from Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and Kyogre respectively. Incineroar was actually a late add-on to the team. After Calyrex and Zekrom, I added Magearna and Amoonguss. These are really just two of the best Pokemon you can have for a Trick Room-oriented team, right? Amoonguss thanks to Spore, and Magearna because it not only can set up Trick Room, but also can snowball the game incredibly effectively. And so, yeah, the start of the team was just Calyrex, Zekrom, added on Magearna and Amoonguss. At this point, it was clear to me I was really Groudon weak, so that's why I added Occaberry and Amoonguss to help a little bit more against Groudon, and two, I wanted more Groudon answers, so I actually added this Air Balloon Max Speed Incineroar. This tech is specifically so that you outspeed most Groudons. Like, Groudon needs a fair amount of speed investment to actually outspeed max speed Incineroar, and most Groudons I've seen, range between like 20 to 60 speed EVs, and that's not enough to actually outspeed max speed Incineroar. So the idea is with Air Balloon here, you even if you are faster than me, you can't just KO me immediately with a Max Quake. You'd have to Max Rockfall instead, and that wouldn't KO me, especially thanks to Intimidate. And the main idea is you Will-O-Wisp, right? Groudon is a lot less scary if you're able to Intimidate it and burn it, and in fact, if we can get our opponent to Dynamax and we get like Will-O-Wisp and Intimidate off into it, it sets up like Magearna, Palkia, and Zekrom for so much success in the end game. And so that was the theory behind this Incineroar set. Shuka was taken, it's already on Magearna. Focus Sash was taken, it's already on Calyrex, and so I went for Air Balloon as the defensive item of choice here. And that leads to the final member, which is Palkia. This was probably the most flexible slot. I just kind of theoried the team and didn't really practice any games with it, but it made sense to me where it's like, okay, this is a strong special attacker right now. I'm relying a lot on Zekrom, which is a physical attacker, so Palkia gives me a strong Dynamax special attacking Pokemon. It's got good coverage across the board, and this also can match up fairly well into Groudon because I can Max Wormwind them and then Max Geyser, change the weather into rain, and then just go for another Max Geyser. So I had envisioned the team to center around Trick Room, so a lot of Trick Room leads you could go with, like Calyrex, Amoonguss with Magearna and Palkia or Zekrom in the back. You could go with like Calyrex, Zekrom even, Incineroar, Calyrex. I think tons of different ways that you can play with the team. At least that was how I had theoried it. So yeah, that's it for the breakdown of the team. Okay, we've got Incineroar, Venusaur, Kyogre, Tornadus, Calyrex, and Yveltal. So immediately I think Zekrom is amazing here. We're going to want to use Calyrex to enable Trick Room here. And I'm actually immune to Sleep Powder, which is pretty sweet. So we're not going to bring Incineroar into this matchup. I think, honestly, Calyrex Amoonguss could work here. Like, the idea is that my opponent can't deal with both of these. Unless, I guess, they lead Yveltal plus their own Calyrex and Snarl Astral Barrage. That's probably the one play I'm worried about. So maybe I want to go with Calyrex and Magearna. Basically, it's figuring out whether or not I want to bring Amoonguss into this matchup. I also have to be worried about, like, Kyogre plus Calyrex lead from their end, right? Okay, I'm down for Calyrex Amoonguss, Magearna, plus Zekrom in the back. I think Zekrom can sweep this if we get there, but the question is whether or not we get there. I think turn 1 of this game is going to be really important. It's essentially going to set the pace of the battle. It's whether or not like I can get Trick Room up or whether or not my opponent just leads with so much offense, something like Kyogre Calyrex that I just kind of get overwhelmed immediately. But it's Tornadus Yveltal. Okay. I'm okay with this. Yeah, what do I want to do here? I mean, truthfully, I think just going for Rage Powder into Trick Room is okay here. The idea is to sacrifice the Amoonguss so that I get a free switch into Zekrom or Magearna. Best case scenario would be like them Dynamaxing Yveltal, they KO Amoonguss. Yeah, and I get a free switch into Zekrom, activate the policy, Max Lightning Zekrom or Yveltal, and then just sweep the game from there. And we're seeing a Dynamax, so honestly, I'm pretty content with this. Now, the thing is, leading something like Calyrex and Amoonguss, it's so clear I'm trying to set up Trick Room here, but I'm okay with that. So they're going to bring out Yveltal. Okay. Or I should say Dynamax, not bring out. No surprise there. Let's see what Tornadus goes for. Best case would be like them taunting Amoonguss and then also airstreaming that slot. Tailwind works. Cool. Okay. So we will lose Amoonguss unless... They could be Goggles Yveltal, I suppose, but that's where Focus Sash helps out a lot. And that's a KO onto Amoonguss. Beautiful. Alright. Time to get Zekrom out. I could bring Magearna out as well, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm worried about them being Assault Vest Yveltal. Oh, you are Life Orb. I am still fairly happy bringing Zekrom out in this position, I think. Yeah. We can bring out Zekrom. The other interesting decision is whether or not I even need to Dynamax Zekrom this turn. Okay. Because now what I can do is go for the Draining Kiss to activate Weakness Policy on it. Dynamax. I just don't want to miss Bolt Strike is the thing. The reason I'm considering not maxing here is because I think Yveltal going for Max Guard is definitely a possibility. And so this would give me an extra Dynamax turn. If I miss, though, it'd be pretty brutal. So the question is, like, whether or not I want to consider wasting a max turn. I think it'd be really bad if I ended up, like, going for Bolt Strike, they didn't protect, and then Max Darkness just KO'd Zekrom. So, I don't want to take that chance. And if they don't Max Guard Yveltal here, they are in so much trouble. But I'd rather just play it safe, and, like, this covers for them not going for Max Guard. If they don't Max Guard here, I think we actually would just win the game. Basically, the logic of maybe clicking Bolt Strike there is saying, okay, well, I don't think you're actually going to attack this turn. I think you're going to Max Guard, so essentially I can stall to turn to your Dynamax this way. But, yeah, I don't want to take that chance. And they don't go for Max Guard on Yveltal. Beautiful. So Calyrex activates Zekrom's Weakness Policy. That's exactly what we're looking for here. Wonderful. And there's Max Lightning, and that's going to knock out Yveltal. Excellent. This is what I was saying, though, right? I think Zekrom was actually just incredible into my opponent's entire team. This team is very much, when I theory crafted it, like designed around Calyrex and Zekrom, right? And obviously, I am fairly weak to ground, so that's why I have like the max speed Air Balloon Incineroar on the team as well. Now, my opponent didn't have a Groudon here, so I didn't really need to bring that, but they're just going to opt for Hurricane. Works for me. Okay, Calyrex survives. We were never fainting there thanks to Focus Sash, but yeah. Kyogre comes out. I mean, right now Zekrom is just in such a happy position, right? Like, I just don't really have to care about what my opponent wants to do. I'm down to just Max Lightning into the Kyogre slot. Yeah, we can just Draining Kiss to break a potential Sash on Tornadus. There's still a couple turns of Trick Room left, and it's really hard for my opponent, I think, to win from this angle because of the amount of turns of Trick Room we have. They actually just end up forfeiting. So there we go. We get a win on the board with Calyrex and Zekrom. I'm very happy. That was as good of a game as we could have asked for that combination. And so, yeah, you know, like when I saw that the... okay, let's see. So Sugar Berry on Incineroar. Copa Berry on Venusaur. Makes sense. Mystic Water Kyogre. Focus Sash Tornadus. Yep. Choice Specs Calyrex. And then Life Orb on Evoltal here. Yeah, I mean, I think their team actually just doesn't really have a Zekrom answer. Their best bet is probably Sleep Powder or Max Quake from Venusaur. But even then, I think we have a fairly decent matchup. And the other thing is maybe Intimidate from Incineroar. But otherwise, yeah, Zekrom in itself was really good. And if we just get Trick Room up, hence why I led Amoonguss plus the Calyrex. I felt fairly good about that. Since they did actually have Choice Specs Calyrex here, though, something like Calyrex plus Kyogre might have just crushed me. That was the lead I was most worried about. So, fortunately, my opponent didn't bring it out there. Whoa! Mono Steel. Zacian, Zamazenta, Dialga, Magearna, Jirachi, and Melmetal. Isn't it kind of crazy you can make a Mono Steel team in this format? That's really cool. I don't think Mono Steel's the best matchup for me, truthfully. This is fun, though. This is really fun. I think putting things to sleep with Amoonguss is our best bet. Zekrom can blow things up with Max Lightning. Dialga is probably my primary concern here. Magearna's not very good. Incineroar can Will-O-Wisp, which is actually not bad into a fair amount of my opponent's Pokemon. I probably want Palkia. Okay, I think it's probably Calyrex plus Palkia lead. Or Calyrex Amoonguss lead. Because Palkia Max Quake here is really good, right? Okay, I'm down for Calyrex Amoonguss, Palkia Zekrom. I have not fought against Jirachi at all in this format. I fought against all the other Pokemon, but never all together. And yeah, I mean, obviously when you use monotyping, you're weak to certain types. In this one, like, you know, ground is just really good against everything. That's why I'm thinking maybe we want to Dynamax Palkia, go for Life Orb Max Quakes onto everything. Whatever's not, you know, maxed on their end, like Life Orb Quake maybe can just get a one-hit KO. Dialga and Zamazenta. So normally when I see this, I'm thinking maybe you're trying to go for, like, coaching strategies. Basically, turn 1, I could just Protect and Trick Room, or I could, like, sacrifice Amoonguss to get a free switch in here. Which isn't a terrible idea, because essentially we can stall out Dialga's Dynamax in this game. I think I'm down for just Rage Powder Trick Room turn 1. Yeah. I mean, the alternative would be... the reason I'm okay with this is because then it's a free switch into Palkia. I can Dynamax Palkia. I can Pollen Puff my own Palkia to heal it at any point, and I have Helping Hand support as well. Plus, Palkia can increase its special defense via Max Quake. With this lead, I think my opponent's almost always Dynamaxing Dialga on turn 1. That's what they're going to go for. Dialga is just way stronger as a Dynamax option. Compared to non-Dynamax Dialga. And I actually, like, my point there is basically saying if you look at my opponent's team, most of their other Pokemon are, like, basically pretty powerful in and out of Dynamax. Dialga is so much stronger in Dynamax relative to its base form. So, we're going for Rage Powder here. I don't really know what Zamazenta wants to do here. Maybe a coaching. Yeah, they just go for Behemoth Bash. That's fine. Yeah, like, I think it makes sense for them to double up onto Amoonguss, which is why I was contemplating Protect plus Trick Room, but I'm okay, like, accelerating the pace of this battle right now, because I think Dynamax Palkia is looking fairly strong. So, Amoonguss should faint here, and they go for a Hailstorm. Yep, that makes sense. I think the main debate this next turn, actually there's two things. One, do they Warm Wind into the Palkia slot? Two, do they have Protect on Zamazenta? Some Zamazentas actually drop Protect. I don't even think I need to be that worried about Zamazenta, truthfully. Like, I could just bring out Palkia, Dynamax, Helping Hand, Life Orb, Max Quake into Dialga. Because if I can call the Zamazenta Protect, it gives me a pretty significant advantage, I would say. Yeah. I'm mainly curious if they, like, maybe doubled up into the Calyrex slot there on turn 1, but that's why it's like I did have the opportunity to make a slightly, like, riskier play in the Protect option, like I mentioned, but didn't really want to go for it there. Anyway, like, they could just Warm Wind plus Behemoth Bash Palkia right now. You could easily Protect the Zamazenta. I think here I'm down to Helping Hand, Dynamax, and Quake. Because Bash plus Warm Wind, once we get a special defense boost, I don't think is a KO. And I think a lot of players here are prone to protecting Zamazenta to try to stall to turn in my max. But this is where it would be funny if we had Weakness Policy Palkia. I wonder if a +2 Max Quake could have KO'd Dialga. Although Helping Hand plus Life Orb is a decently significant boost as well. Let's see. Okay, Calyrex goes for Helping Hand. Did Zamazenta protect here? Ooh. Okay, now that I definitely didn't expect. I still expect to survive Wormwind, I think, but we'll see. Oh, or we can just KO them outright. That works too. Nice. That wasn't even a crit. Let's go support Calyrex. Cool. I think that should just win us the game, truthfully, because, like, they do have some decent Pokemon under Trick Room in Magearna and the, Melmetal, but neither can deal with Palkia quickly enough here. Yeah, I just wasn't, like, the thing about Dialgas is that you can run a wide variety of, investments on it, right? You could, in terms of, like, EV spreads, you could be very, very bulky. You could have no bulk, go max speed, max special attack, modest or timid. So, wasn't confident on getting the KO there, but this obviously puts us in a fantastic position. I've got Zekrom in the back, and 3 turns of Trick Room still. I mean, Zekrom, I think Zacian here surely protects, right? But that's fine for me. Like, I don't really have to worry about Zamazenta at all. Like, I'm down to just Helping Hand plus, do I even need a special defense boost? I don't mind going for Geyser here, I think. Set up the rain. Doesn't really make a difference, though, no? Actually, the reason I want to go for Geyser here is because with the Mono Steel team, I think one thing I'm actually worried about... Oh, okay, they actually just end up forfeiting. I was going to say one thing I'm worried about is them potentially have a switch-in with Air Balloon on something. Maybe it's just because I have Air Balloon Incineroar on this team, but... I want to consider that option. And, like, the only way I could really lose that game from that point is if I end up, like, not getting any damage off. So, yeah, like, Geyser is just good damage into anything in the back. Melmetal, the Magearna, for example, as well. Jirachi. Like, Helping Hand Geyser should just one-shot any of those Pokemon. So, yeah. I mean, these games have been pretty fast-paced, but it's essentially, hey, I get the Trick Room setup I'm looking for. I use my Sweeper to kind of KO them, their powerful attackers immediately, and it gives me a really significant advantage. Okay. For this one, we've got Zacian, Yveltal, Calyrex, Solgaleo, Whimsicott, and Kyogre. Zakrom's decent, Palkia's decent. Solgaleo is actually the Pokemon I'm most worried about, but I'm wondering if I can do anything with Air Balloon Will-O-Wisp here from Incineroar. I mean, we do have Max Darkness on Zekrom. I just don't know if a +2 Max Darkness KOs Solgaleo. Their team is rather hyper-offensive. Like, Calyrex Kyogre, once again, is a lead that scares me a little bit. I mean, the challenge is to bring Calyrex in every game, so I'm going to do it. I think it'd probably be easier to lead Palkia, Mungus, Zekrom, Magearna. That's probably the, like, easiest, mode to play towards. Yeah, I'm just worried about Kyogre, Calyrex from their end, once again. I think in this one, I might actually be down to just lead Zekrom outright. Their team is also fairly Zekrom weak. And in the back, Magearna plus regular Palkia is actually not bad here. But if I get Trick Room up, Amoonguss Spore is so strong. I'm going to bring Palkia in this one, try it out. So we're going to go for Restricteds, but... Once again, I don't really count Calyrex as a restricted. Yeah, I probably want something to beat Calyrex Kyogre. Maybe throwing like a Lunala onto the team over one of the Pokemon like Palkia could be helpful for wide guard support. We're going to go with Solgaleo and Calyrex. Okay, it could be Trick Room in Prison as well, by the way. Okay. This is a fairly scary lead, I would say. What I want to do is just click Trick Room here. They could Will-O-Wisp. They could just Astro Barrage plus like Max Quake Zekrom. I want a Trick Room. Maybe just Dynamax here. And Max Darkness Solgaleo. The problem is if they double up on a Calyrex, I don't get Trick Room up and I activate Weakness Policy on Solgaleo. But I'm already in kind of a bad position given this lead, I think. Okay, I'd rather Lightning here just to play around the policy. Because I don't think I'm going to KO even if they were to activate my policy on Zekrom with the Max Darkness anyway. Ideally, they get kind of greedy. They don't think about Focus Sash here on Calyrex, and they Astro Barrage, and then Solgaleo targets the Zekrom slot. Like, best case scenario here would be Astro Barrage, Solgaleo, Max Quake, Zekrom. Zekrom survives. We get Trick Room up. I get Lightning into Solgaleo. Then the next turn, I can just heal the Zekrom while getting another Lightning off. That would be the absolute best case scenario. Worst case right now is probably them doubling up into the Calyrex slot, which, I don't know. When you lead Calyrex Shadow Rider, I think seems likely. That's one of the downsides of regular Calyrex in Series 13, right? Like, the most common Pokemon in the format currently are Pokemon like opposing Calyrex Shadow Riders, Evoltal. Oh, it's the Bulldoze strat. Okay. That makes sense. That's probably gonna... I don't know why I didn't even think about Bulldoze, actually. It's kind of funny. Hilariously enough, that does actually activate my weakness policy as well. So Zekrom's actually looking strong, but they might have just max quaked the Zekrom slot. My question is whether or not a +2 max quake would even KO, truthfully. But I think Steel Spike into, yeah, Calyrex makes the most sense here. Unfortunately, we can't survive that, yeah. Not much I could do around that, unfortunately. That's a nice play by my opponent. And yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, the Calyrex on this set really relies on trying to get Trick Room up. I guess Amoonguss and Calyrex actually would have worked out decently well here. But the thing is, they would have been able to activate Policy, and then I wouldn't be able to really KO Solgaleo very quickly either, which is less than ideal. I do have Shuka Berry on Magearna. They might just Steel Spike it instead. Okay, I'm down to actually going to Palkia here, because Palkia does resist Steel Spike from Solgaleo. Like, this isn't the ideal start, but I think it's still doable. Especially because, like, Magearna has so much comeback potential. Yeah, I'm going to just click Trick Room here. And I think just Lightning Solgaleo. The question is whether or not they try to knock out Zekrom here. But if you KO Zekrom, then I'd actually get Trick Room up with Palkia. So there's Astral Barrage. That's not much of a surprise. There's Max Quake. Who are you targeting, though, between Palkia and Zekrom? It is Palkia. Okay. Yeah, so, like, now we've set up Electric Terrain. Max Lightning should get the KO onto the Solgaleo. So then the question is what my opponent has in the back. Like, I have triple Trick Room with this team, but it's hard for me to actually get it up right now because my opponent could just constantly double up onto whatever is, yeah, the Trick Room user. And that's one of the things about using Trick Room in this format, generally. Not that easy to set up. I didn't really have too much counterplay to that Bulldoze play on turn 1, though. Especially because I don't have Protect on any of the Trick Room users. Protect would be the counterplay, like having Protect on any of the Pokemon. I bring out Zacian. If I can protect the right Pokemon here, maybe we can still win. Probably not, unless, like, their last one is Evoltal. What I want to do here is Protect. Because, like, they're hyper-focusing on denying me Trick Room, right? So Protect and then just Lightning to try to one-shot the Zekrom. Or, sorry, Zacian. And then bring it to a 2v2 where Magearna has a special attack boost. Okay. Yeah, so the big question here is who's Zacian targeting. Because if they ended up targeting the Zekrom slot, I actually could have just gone Protect plus Trick Room. But they do Blade into Magearna. Okay. So Max Lightning here should get another one-hit KO. +2 Electric Terrain boosted. Yeah. The problem is I think Kyogre is the last one, but if it's Evoltal, we can actually protect Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Bolt Beak. Not Bolt Beak. Bolt Strike to win the game. But I think it's Kyogre most likely. Yeah. Yeah, so now you just click Water Spout plus Astro Barrage. They just had pretty good anti-Trick Room here, and the team that we're using here is fairly reliant on Trick Room, plus I don't think Solgaleo is really the best matchup for it. Calyrex plus Solgaleo in general was just kind of a tough lead to deal with here. I didn't really have too many answers into that. Curious how fast the Solgaleo was, because like Incineroar being able to come out and actually burn it is fairly interesting here. Is there any way I would win this game? I mean, they should just Astro Barrage plus Water Spout, so. But I guess if they, for some reason, don't have Water Spout and they miss Origin Pulse, there's still a chance. But I would just be shocked to not see Water Spout. Every Kyogre runs Water Spout in this format. Yeah. They're actually Choice Scarf, okay. I guess if for some reason Calyrex did not click Astro Barrage here, that could work. But yeah, I just can't take the onslaught of all these spread type attacks. If I had like Lunala over Palkia, then I could have led maybe like Lunala plus the Calyrex. So that's an interesting decision in the team building process, like potentially replacing Palkia. But yeah, like I designed this as a very hard Trick Room team, and something like Calyrex plus Kyogre plus Solgaleo. Like there's just so much pure offense there. So the best approach may have been to indeed like lead Amoonguss and just sacrifice it to at least get my sweepers in safely. But yeah. Okay, this team has Zacian, Groudon, Victini. They have a Gastrodon, a Whimsicott, and a Venusaur as well. So 3 restricteds, 3 non-restricteds. This is where I kind of want to use my Air Balloon Incineroar tech. I want to bring it out. This is designed for Groudon, but they could have Tailwind, obviously. But I think Incineroar is actually really solid here because it can also fake out Victini. How good is Zekrom here? I mean, it's not amazing into Groudon, but if we burn it, it's okay. I probably don't want to bring Zekrom. I'm thinking like Incineroar Calyrex here. This is one of the matchups where I actually think I could bring all 6 Pokemon, but I'm not sure what are like the best 4 here. That's Groudon and Whimsicott. Okay, that works for me. Especially because we have Air Balloon. I mean, I have a bunch of options on turn 1. First, actually seeing who's faster between Incineroar and Groudon is important. And yeah, like part of why I designed this Incineroar was to outspeed most Groudons in the format unless they actually have like a fair amount of speed investment. So with the Air Balloon here, like what I want to go for on turn 1, I could just fake out plus Trick Room. But getting Will-O-Wisp off onto Groudon here would be so huge. So I'm actually down to just Will-O-Wisp and Trick Room turn 1. And we'll see if Whimsicott decides to actually go for a Tailwind. They could maybe try to Moonblast Incineroar, but then I would burn the Groudon, and then I would also get Trick Room, which would be the ideal scenario here. They could Taunt right now, but then I would burn into Groudon, which is really good. Especially if Groudon Dynamax is here, right? We're hoping to see Groudon Max, but maybe they consider swapping out. That would make a lot of sense here. This is where having Air Balloon helps a lot, but they are going to commit the Dynamax. I'm actually really happy to see that. Like, I designed this Incineroar to try to beat Groudons. The main thing is, what's interesting though, is if I had slow Incineroar, I actually could have just gone Fake Out into Whimsicott, Trick Room turn 1 with Calyrex, and then turn 2 just Will-O-Wisp into the Groudon slot. So, like, Fast Incineroar was designed to give me an advantage against Groudon, but here maybe Slow Incineroar actually also could have been okay. Okay, I'm very okay with this. And we hit Will-O-Wisp. Good job, Incineroar. Thank you. Okay, so that burns the Groudon immediately. And they go for Rockfall, which, I mean, now you're a burnt Groudon with the -1 attack as well. Yeah, that does just over half. That is totally okay with me. Okay, not bad. I think the main consideration now I have is the Whimsicott. Do you have something like Encore? I want to be a little bit careful about Encore. And I'm also worried about them potentially reversing my Trick Room. So they could just go for another Helping Hand plus Rockfall onto the Incineroar slot, right? So actually, what I'm down to do is Flare Blitz into Whimsicott and then switch Calyrex out into Magearna, because if you do that, my Magearna gets a special attack boost and we get the Snowball fairly quickly. Then I can bring out Palkia as well, Dynamax Palkia potentially, Max Wormwind into Groudon, Flash Cannon into Whimsicott, stall out Groudon's Dynamax, and Snowball with regular Magearna. Okay, they just go for Max Quake here. See if that KOs me. Yeah, that actually is still enough. Okay, that's okay. I think if we had survived there and get the Flare Blitz off into Whimsicott, I'd probably just win the game off then, right? Because it would be a double KO. Magearna would get 2 special attack boosts, but this is okay. We'll see what Whimsicott opts for. Do you have Trick Room yourself? The answer is yes. Okay. Well, that certainly makes the match more interesting. Because I can Trick Room with either Pokemon right now this next turn. And it's hard for my opponent to make the call on who's actually going to want to Trick Room. The other question is, do I want to bring out Calyrex or Palkia here? I think I'm down for Calyrex here. Flash Cannon into Whimsicott, and then Trick Room with my Calyrex. Yeah, I think that's decently strong here. And part of the thing is, I don't mind eating up damage with Magearna, because I have Sugar Berry, and then I can just heal it all back up with Pollen Puff. So the other question now is just like, does your Whimsicott also have something like Taunt? If not, I think this is actually still a fairly good position. Magearna gets the +2 after this turn. Even if you Quake me, we'll be able to heal it back up with Pollen Puff, Dynamax Magearna. A burnt -1 Groudon is not going to do anything post Dynamax to us here. So the goal was always to stall out Dynamax. I do wonder whether or not like maybe Zekrom was actually appropriate to have in the back, since the Incineroar was able to shut down Groudon fairly early. Okay, beautiful. They're max quaking. Whimsicott, as you can tell here, is going for an attack, so they're trying to reverse my Trick Room. But we should just KO them with Flash Cannon. So as long as we don't get crit here, which we don't, beautiful. That only did 37 damage, by the way. This is the thing about team construction, though, right? I knew I was fairly Groudon weak before I added Incineroar. Incineroar was the last member of the team, but I was like, okay, I need something to really beat Groudon, and this Air Balloon max speed variant is fairly interesting to me. So, beautiful. We get the KO on a Whimsicott. This works out even better for us because now I actually have so many turns of Trick Room, right? Whereas before, if my opponent had him reverse Trick Room, we'd only have a couple turns to sweep with. Now I have a full 4 turns of Trick Room to work with. We saw that our opponent's Dynamax. Magearna has got into +2 special attack, and Groudon is completely useless, right? So what I can do is just Dynamax Magearna, Pollen Puff into the Magearna slot, and use Magearna to target whatever's next to Groudon right now. I don't even necessarily have to Dynamax Magearna, but I think that's probably just the safest route. There might be Gastron coming in here, so Dynamax and Magearna would allow me to max Starfall, preventing my opponent from getting Yawn off into us. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Either way, I think this game should be won barring any really crazy RNG at this point. They actually bring out Victini, which I'm totally okay with. I guess the one thing to consider is if it's like, I don't know, Sash Victini. Yeah, I really don't necessarily need a Dynamax here, but I think I still should. We're at +2 already. Pollen Puff breaks a potential Sash. I mean, Victini resists both of these, but doesn't matter. Steel Spike, I think, is fine. You know what? I think I'm going to heal my own Magearna up just, yeah, to feel a little bit better there. And just go for Steel Spike on the Victini. Victini could reverse Trick Room. Honestly, even if they reverse Trick Room from this angle, I think it's okay because I have so much offense and I'm bulky enough to take their attacks. Okay. There is the Magearna Dynamax. Get Steel Spike off. Defense boost as well. So Groudon is just so sad right now. And yeah, I don't think Pollen Puff actually would have gotten the KO there. So I'm fine with this outcome. Even just a little bit of healing on Magearna goes a long way. Because I don't think this duo can really KO me right now. I guess if it's like, I don't know, Choice Specs, Victini. Even then, though. Yeah, they just Blades. Magearna takes basically no damage from that. And V-Create, that's fine. Yeah, it's like a fair amount of damage, but critically we survive, right? Okay, Calyrex. And then Victini. Just double checking the board state. 3 turns of Trick Room. You're at -1 in each. I am curious whether or not a Pollen Puff now just KOs Victini. I honestly have no idea. Calyrex doesn't have any special attack investment. I think it's fine to just Pollen Puff Magearna here. And just Steel Spike Victini again. Because I don't think, yeah. Like, this is fine, right? Even if Groudon crits me right now, what are you really going to do? You're still, like, at this point, we completely shut down Groudon. It's intimidated, it's burned, and I am at +2 defense. So, and Magearna's, by the way, at +3 special attack now. Okay. Yep. This just feels kind of meme. But this is what I designed the team to do, right? It's all about using support Calyrex to boost your main sweepers in Magearna, Palkia, and Zekrom. Okay, that's it for Sandstorm. And I still have one more turn of Dynamax. The one thing is, you know, I haven't been able to snowball as quickly as I really should be able to under Trick Room, but the thing is my opponent's Groudon is completely useless right now, so it's really a non-factor, I would argue. So Zacian comes out for my opponent, no surprise there. That's fine. We still have 2 turns of Trick Room. So, yeah. It's looking really tough for my opponent, because what I can do now is... I'm not a Helping Hand plus Steel Spike here. Actually, I think Palm Puff is always more consistent, because plus 3 Steel Spike should KO, right? I guess I'm not 100% confident on that. Yeah, I don't need the healing right now. I think it's fine. I think Helping Hand and Steel Spike and Zacian is okay. Okay, there's Helping Hand. They should protect here, but they don't, and that just ensures us the victory. Very nice. And goodbye, Zacian. Okay. And that should be it. I mean, Groudon just is never winning from this position. This whole team, or this whole early game was designed in shutting down Groudon, and I think the fact they committed to Dynamax to it made my life so much easier. But if you look at what my opponent brought in this battle, it makes sense. It was Groudon, Whimsicott, Victini, and Zacian. You can't max Zacian, you can't max Whimsicott, and the Victini is most likely not a max option on that team either. So you're forced to Dynamax Groudon, right? Which worked in our favor, because, yeah, the Incinerate set worked to perfection here for us. I guess it wasn't necessarily perfection, because if I were slower, it actually... Well, no, if I were slower, I wouldn't have been able to burn them, right? Yeah. Because they would have just Helping Hand Rockfalled me. So, we can just Helping Hand and Flash Cannon now. And that'll be it. Alright, Calyrex claims another victim here. I'm honestly really happy. Like, ultimately, I think in the games here, we've showcased all the different ways that the Calyrex can enable, you know, the partner Pokemon here. And so... That was kind of the idea, where it's like, okay, you just support Calyrex with a lot of Pokemon that can be really, really strong under Trick Room. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of Trainer's Choice. So thank you so much for joining me. My name is Aaron Cybertron Zhang. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Give us any feedback down in the comment section below. And subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And of course, give us suggestions for what you'd like to see me use next on this series. All right, peace.